Some of the best soul music ever made wasn't made in the 70s. It was made after. By bands who studied the masters, who felt every note, who kept the fire alive. But most people never heard them. Not because the music wasn't good enough. Because nobody told them where to look. Today, that changes. These 12 modern soul bands carry everything you loved about the 70s.
Hannah, my darling, I will follow you into
The groove, the pain, the truth. And at least one of them might be better than the originals. This is your countdown. Stay with us. Number 12. Duran Jones and the Indications. Is it any wonder?
this road.
Close your eyes for a second. Really, you're sitting in your living room? 1973, the needle drops. And before the first chorus even hits, you feel it in your chest. That warm, slow-burning thing. That feeling you thought was gone. That's exactly what this song does to you. It wraps around you like an old record you forgot you owned.
It's gonna take us back now.
Duran Jones and the Indications formed in Bloomington, Indiana, back around 2012, when Duran and drummer Aaron Fraser met at Indiana University. They recorded their early stuff on 4-track tape machines on purpose. Not because they couldn't afford better, because they wanted it to feel real.
You look so fine.
Their self-titled debut came out in 2016 on Colamine Records, a small but fiercely respected label known for keeping classic soul alive. Is it any wonder? Sits right in that pocket. It's about longing, about reaching for someone, and wondering if they even feel what you feel. The production is warm and crackly, almost mono in places, and it sounds like it was made in a studio on the south side of Chicago in 1971. Here's something that gets me every time I think about it. Aaron Fraser, the drummer who also sings falsetto on this record, wasn't even 20 years old when they made it. That voice, that high aching, Smokey Robinson kind of voice came from a kid barely out of his teens. And he sang it like he'd been through a lifetime of heartbreak already. The reason most people outside of the vinyl community miss this is simple.
They say my child.
Colamine Records didn't have a major distribution deal back then. You had to know someone or dig for it. It didn't get mainstream radio play, no streaming push, no PR machine. It lived in record shops and soul nights. And that's a shame because this song deserved much, much more. Number 11, Surprise Chef, Education and Recreation. Now this one might catch you off guard, and that's exactly the point. You know how sometimes a piece of music hits you and you don't even know why? No big vocal, no grand chorus, just a groove that gets inside your body and refuses to leave? That's Surprise Chef. This is soul from the bottom up, instruments first, feeling always. Surprise Chef is a Melbourne, Australia-based ensemble. And yes, the best soul on this list comes from Australia. So let that sit with you. They released Education and Recreation in 2019 on Chapter Music, an Australian independent label. The album was recorded to 2-inch tape at Head Gap Studio in Melbourne. The whole project leans hard into 1997's library music. Think the kind of soul and funk that used to back nature documentaries and Italian crime films. Their sound pulls from Roy Ayers' The Meters, early CTI records. The title track is about the idea that music itself is the education. That culture is passed down through listening, not textbooks. What's wild about this band is that nobody told them to sound like this. They weren't from Memphis or Detroit or Muscle Shoals. They were from the other side of the world, digging through crates at secondhand shops in Brunswick, Victoria. And they found something in those grooves that they brought back to life with their own hands. Outside of Australia and a tight network of UK soul and jazz fans, almost no one knows this record exists. The band had zero major label interest, no big sync deals, no soundtrack placements. They just made something beautiful and quietly put it into the world.
All right, quick pause in the countdown because I need to say this from the heart. If these R&B picks are hitting you, if they're bringing back memories, late night vibes, old playlists, and that feeling you can't explain, then please subscribe to
80s R&B playlist.
But because it genuinely helps this channel survive and grow. Every subscribe is like you telling YouTube, yes, this music matters. Keep this kind of content alive. It pushes these forgotten songs back into the light, helps more real R&B lovers find the channel, and lets me keep making deeper, better countdowns for you. So if you want more lists like this, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment with the one R&B song that raised you. Let's bring these classics back together.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 10. Leon Bridges, River. There are songs that clean something inside you. Not fix it, not heal it overnight, just clean it. Like you've been carrying something heavy, and for 3.5 minutes, you put it down. River by Leon Bridges is that kind of song. From the first note, it feels like a revival, like church without the walls.
Traveling these wide roads for so long.
Leon Bridges grew up in Fort Worth, Texas, and was working as a dishwasher when he was discovered by members of the band White Denim in 2014. He signed to Columbia Records and released Coming Home in 2015. River was the centerpiece of that album, a gospel soul song about wanting forgiveness, about feeling unworthy of love and grace.
My heart's been far from you.
It was produced by Austin Jenkins and Josh Block, recorded with vintage equipment to capture a late 1950s Sam Cooke feel. The song earned Bridges a Grammy nomination and introduced him to millions. But here's what some people forget: the soul community had mixed feelings at first.
10,000 miles gone.
Some felt the retro angle was too calculated, too polished, too much packaging around the emotion. What silenced every critic was watching Leon perform it live. That voice is not manufactured. That conviction is not studied. He sang River at the Grammy Awards, and there were grown people crying in their seats.
Oh, I wanna come near and give.
Because it was real. For some 70s soul fans, Leon felt too mainstream once Columbia got hold of him. And that's fair. His later records moved away from the classic sound. But River, that song lives on its own. It doesn't need anything around it. It stands alone. Number 9. Antibalas, Beaten Metal. Some music is political, and some music is a weapon. Antibalas makes weapons. Beautiful, groove-soaked, Afrobeat soul weapons that you dance to while your mind wakes up. This song doesn't just move your feet. It moves something deeper. It makes you feel the weight of the world and somehow dance anyway. Antibalas, the name means bulletproof. In Spanish, is a New York City collective, formed in 1998. They are the direct descendants of Fela Kuti's approach to music. Long, cyclical grooves, horn arrangements that sting, and lyrics that challenge power. Beaten Metal appears on their 2012 album, Who Is This America? Released on Anti Records. The song deals with labor, exploitation, and the human cost of industry. It layers Afrobeat rhythms with deep soul horns and call-and-response vocals in a way that feels ancient and urgent at the same time. The band has been in the orbit of Daptone Records, the Brooklyn soul movement, and has played with Sharon Jones, Lee Fields, and others in that world. The band once played a continuous set for nearly 3 hours at a festival in upstate New York and reportedly didn't repeat a single groove. People who were there still talk about it. It's the kind of live experience that turns casual listeners into lifers. Antibalas has always been too politically uncomfortable for mainstream radio. Their music doesn't do playlists well. Tracks run 7, 8, 10 minutes. The algorithm doesn't know what to do with them, so they live in the margins. But those margins are where the real fire is. Number 8, the Hamiltones. Their live take on Ain't No Sunshine.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
Now, before you say anything, hear me out. Sometimes a cover tells you as much about where soul music is going as it tells you about where it's been. The Hamiltones are three men: Jay Vessel, T. Jay Wilkins, and Anthony Hamilton's longtime backup vocalists. And when they opened their mouths on this performance, something stopped in the room. You could feel it.
It's not a warm way.
The Hamiltones gained mainstream attention when videos of their a cappella performances started circulating in 2017. They are background vocalists for Anthony Hamilton, one of the most soulful singers of the last 20 years, signed to RCA Records. Their live cover of Bill Withers' 1971 classic strips away every instrument
She's away.
and leaves only 3 voices in a stairwell or dressing room, depending on which version you find. And what those 3 voices do together, the blend, the ache, the restraint, is a masterclass in what soul really means. It's not about production, it's about truth in the voice. Bill Withers himself, in various interviews over the years, said he was suspicious of overproduction.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone.
He wanted music that felt like someone was talking to you. The Hamiltones found that same thing. The most talked about version of their performance was filmed on a phone. One phone. No lighting rig. No studio. Just a corridor somewhere backstage and 3 men who forgot that anyone else was in the world.
She's always gone too long. And it's
The video spread because it was undeniable. They're not a signed solo act. They're background singers who step forward. And that in itself is a kind of rise quiet men becoming the main event, if only for a few minutes. Number 7, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, S.O.B.
I'm gonna need someone to help me.
This one hits different when you know the story behind it, because on the surface it sounds like a party. It sounds like a Saturday night in a packed room with a horns section blowing the roof off. But underneath all that energy is a man fighting for his life. And somehow, that's what makes it soul. Real soul.
I'm gonna need somebody's hand.
Nathaniel Rateliff is a Denver, Colorado artist who spent years making quiet folk music before something snapped. He put together the Night Sweats, and in 2015 they released their self-titled debut on Stax Records. Yes, that's Stax, relaunched, and S.O.B. was the track that broke through.
I'm gonna need someone to hold me down.
The song is about addiction, about trying and failing to get sober. about begging something, God, yourself, anyone for one more chance. The production by Richard Swift leans hard into classic soul and R&B. There are hand claps, shout vocals, a rhythm section that sounds like it's been playing together for 30 years.
Gonna need someone to care. I'm on a ride.
The song reached the top 40 in multiple countries and introduced an entire generation to the Stax sound without them even knowing it. Richard Swift, who produced this album, was himself battling serious health problems while they made the record. He passed away in 2018.
Then shake my body. I'll start cooling.
So this album carries a weight that goes beyond what you hear. Two men, both fighting something, making something beautiful together. That's what art is supposed to do. Some older R&B listeners dismissed Ratliff because he's a white artist on a black institution's label. That's a real and honest conversation. But the soul in that voice, it's hard to argue with. And Stax signed him because they heard something genuine. Number 6, Celeste. Stop This Flame. You know that feeling when a voice walks into the room before the person does? Like you can already sense something is different, something is about to happen? That's what Celeste does. From the first second, you feel her before you understand her. And then the words hit you and you just go still.
We fall in love and we fall.
Celeste Epiphany Waite, known simply as Celeste, is a British, Jamaican singer-songwriter born in 1994, raised in Brighton, England. She signed to Polydor Records and released her debut album Not Your Muse in 2021. Stop This Flame was released as a single in 2020 and became one of the most talked about soul songs in the UK that year.
Back out, I'll give you anything you want, anything you want.
The production by Egg White and various collaborators is lush, unhurried, built around piano, strings, and a rhythm section that breathes. Lyrically, the song is about wanting to hold on to something, a love, a feeling, a moment before it burns out. It pulls directly from the Dusty Springfield, Nina Simone, and Aretha Franklin tradition.
Anything, just don't tell me no, you stop this.
Celeste won the Brit Critics' Choice Award and was named BBC Sound of 2020. She also performed at the Brit Awards to massive acclaim. Celeste composed the theme for the film Belfast in 2021, which reached millions of people who might never have found her music otherwise.
Then you make it rush, you're like a pill.
That soundtrack opened a door, and when people walked through it, they found this song waiting. Here's the irony. After all that recognition and critical love, Celeste has had a complicated relationship with fame. She's spoken openly about feeling like the industry wanted to shape her into something she wasn't. That tension between authentic soul and commercial expectation is a story as old as the music itself. Number 5, Mayer Hawthorne. Just ain't gonna work out. And yes, this is the entry where we need to talk about something bigger. Because back at the start of this video, we told you there was a controversy. A real one. About authenticity, about race, about who gets to make soul music and who gets to profit from it. We're not here to judge. We're here to present what happened and let you think about it. Mayer Hawthorne, real name Andrew Mayer Cohen, is a white Jewish producer and singer from Ann Arbor, Michigan. He signed to Stone's Throw Records in 2009 and released A Strange Arrangement, an album so convincingly rooted in 1960s Motown and soul that many early reviewers assumed he was a black artist. Just Ain't Gonna Work Out is a perfect example of what he does: the falsetto, the snap and crackle production, the heartbreak delivered with Smokey Robinson-level restraint. Stone's Throw, known primarily as a hip-hop and beat music label, was a surprising home for this kind of classic soul. And yet it worked.
No way.
Here's where the conversation gets layered. Some critics, black critics in particular, raise serious questions. Not about whether the music was good. It clearly was. The question was, should a white artist be building a career on a black art form?
Don't feel the same. Just don't feel the same.
Adopting the sonic identity of that form so completely that listeners can't tell the difference? In interviews at the time, Hawthorne acknowledged this tension. He didn't dismiss it. He said, in various ways, that he grew up inside this music and that his love for it was real. He pointed to the long tradition of artists across racial lines, learning from and being shaped by black music. Others in the soul community pointed to a different reality. There are dozens of black soul singers in that same era equally gifted, equally rooted in the tradition who never got a stone's throw deal.
And I guess that I don't love you anymore, and I'm sorry.
Never got the critical write-ups. Never got the NPR exposure. The question isn't just about Mayer Hawthorne personally. It's about how the music industry has always been quicker to amplify a white artist doing black music than to give the same platform to the black originators.
But it just ain't working out.
That conversation is still happening. It's not finished. But what we can say is this: the music on that record is real. The craft is undeniable. And the questions it raises are ones the industry needs to keep answering. Number 4, Alicia Keys, If I Ain't Got You.
Some people live for the fortune.
Wait, you know this one. Of course you do. But do you know what was happening around it? Do you know how close this song came to never being released the way it was? Because this is a rise and fight story. And Alicia Keys fought hard for this. Alicia Keys signed to J Records' Clive Davis's label as a teenager and released Songs in a Minor in 2001.
Some people live just for the fame.
If I Ain't Got You came in 2003 on the Diary of Alicia Keys, and it went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song was written and produced by Keys herself, rooted in classic soul piano balladry. The lineage of Stevie Wonder, Nina Simone, and Marvin Gaye runs directly through it.
Some people live for.
But here's what's less talked about. Alicia Keys was under enormous pressure from the label to modernize her sound, to add more contemporary R&B production, to chase radio trends. She resisted. She fought for a piano-driven, classically structured soul song when the market was pushing something very different.
The power, yeah. Some people live.
She has spoken in interviews and in her memoir, More Myself, about the psychological cost of navigating that industry pressure, about who tried to shape her, control her, define her sound before she could define it herself. She stood firm. And If I Ain't Got You became one of the best-selling soul singles of the 2000s.
Just to play the game.
Some 70s purists argued that Keys was too polished, too mainstream, too radio-ready. And maybe they're not wrong. But the piano in that song doesn't lie. The way she holds a note doesn't lie. That's a real musician who grew up on real music standing her ground. Number 3, Hottest Coyote, Nakamura.
Hannah, my darling, I will follow you in.
All right, this one requires your full attention, not because it's difficult, but because it's extraordinary. And if you've never heard Nai Palm sing before, I want you to be ready. Because what comes out of that woman is not normal. It is not something you can explain with music theory or production notes. It just is. It just exists.
To the sunrise, the desert sky.
Hiatus Kaiyote is a Melbourne, Australia quartet, yes. Australia again, consisting of Napalm on vocals and guitar, Paul Bender on bass, Simon Maven on keys, and Perrin Moss on drums. They signed to Flying Buddha Sony Music and released Talk Tomahawk in 2012.
We fly, rise together with our hearts apart.
Nakamura is from that album and features Q-Tip of A Tribe Called Quest, who heard a bootleg of the track and reached out personally to be on it. The song is named after an Aboriginal Australian concept relating to the relationship between a woman and her mother-in-law, a deep, complex, culturally specific bond.
I'll sleep, oh, to see.
Musically, it sits in a place that doesn't have a clean label. Neo-soul, jazz, progressive R&B, whatever you want to call it. The point is, it shouldn't work as seamlessly as it does. And yet it's one of the most beautiful things recorded in the last 20 years. Nakamura was nominated for a Grammy for Best R&B Performance in 2014.
We two will breathe, aqua queen, no vast distance between us.
They were the first Australian act nominated in that category. Q-Tip said in interviews that when he heard Napalm sing, it reminded him of why he started making music in the first place. That's not small praise. That's from one of the architects of conscious hip-hop. Commercial radio didn't know what to do with Hiatus Kaiyote. They don't fit a format. They don't repeat themselves. They change time signatures in the middle of a song, layer percussion in ways that make your brain work to follow it. The algorithm hates complexity. But serious artists, love Hiatus Kaiyote. They are musicians. Number 2, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. How long do I have to wait for you? Some artists spend their whole lives chasing a moment. Sharon Jones spent decades being told she wasn't the right look, the right age, the right sound. She worked as a corrections officer and a bank vault guard while she waited for music to call her name. And when it finally did, when she walked up to that microphone with the Dap Kings behind her, she was already in her 40s. And she sang like someone who had been holding that voice inside for 40 years and finally let it go. Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings formed in Brooklyn, New York in 1996 under the Daptone Records, label the most important independent soul label of the last 30 years, co-founded by Gabriel Roth and Philip Lehman. The Dap Kings are the house band that also backed Amy Winehouse on Back to Black. How Long Do I Have to Wait for You appears on the 2010 album I Learned the Hard Way and is a hard-driving, vintage soul burner about a woman who is done waiting for a man to commit. It is the sound of 40 years of life coming out through one woman's body.
I can say that you're gone every hour.
The production, all analog, track to tape, sounds like a lost Stax session from 1968. Because that's exactly what Gabriel Roth set out to make. Sharon Jones was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer in 2013. She completed chemotherapy, lost her hair, lost weight, and then went back on stage. Multiple times.
It's like a day, and every day is like...
She filmed a documentary, Miss Sharon Jones, directed by Barbara Koppel, that follows her through treatment and back to music. She said in that film that the stage was the only place she felt completely herself. She performed and recorded right up until the cancer returned. She passed away in November 2016. The tragedy of Sharon Jones is that mainstream recognition came so late, and fame barely arrived before she was gone. She was never a household name in the way her talent deserved. But in the soul community, in the Daptone family, among anyone who ever saw her perform live, she is a giant, undisputed.
All right, quick pause in the countdown because I need to say this from the heart. If these R&B picks are hitting you, if they're bringing back memories, late night vibes, old playlists, and that feeling you can't explain, then please subscribe to
80s R&B playlist.
But because it genuinely helps this channel survive and grow. Every subscribe is like you telling YouTube, yes, this music matters. Keep this kind of content alive. It pushes these forgotten songs back into the light, helps more real R&B lovers find the channel, and lets me keep making deeper, better countdowns for you. So if you want more lists like this, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and drop a comment with the one R&B song that raised you. Let's bring these classics back together.
Every story you see here takes hours of digging, piecing together history, and bringing forgotten moments back to life. If you'd like to support that work, you can become a channel member. It's just the cost of a cup of coffee, but it helps us keep these stories alive, and for that, we're grateful. Number 1, Charles Bradley, Changes.
I feel unhappy.
I need you to understand something before I say another word. Charles Bradley did not begin his music career until he was in his 50s. 50 years old. He spent decades doing odd jobs. Dressing as a James Brown impersonator at small venues, living in poverty, raising family, surviving. And then Daptone Records found him.
I feel so sad.
And the world got one of the most emotionally devastating voices it has ever heard. Charles Bradley was born in Gainesville, Florida in 1948 and raised in Brooklyn, New York. He was discovered by Daptone in the mid-2000s and released his debut album, No Time for Dreaming, in 2011. Changes appears on his 2016 album of the same name and is a cover of a Black Sabbath song. Yes, you read that right. He took a heavy metal song written by Ozzy Osbourne and Tony Iommi, completely stripped it to its emotional core, and turned it into a grief-soaked soul ballad about his mother, who had just passed away.
That I ever had.
He sings it like his chest is being opened. There is no artifice. There is no performance. It is pure human pain turned into music. Charles Bradley was known as the Screaming Eagle of Soul. He screamed, not out of theatrics, but out of necessity, because there was no other way to hold what he carried.
She was my woman.
He had lived a life of loss and hardship that would have broken most people. But he chose music, every time, right up until he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. He passed away in September 2017, less than a year after Changes was released. The tragedy and the beauty is that the world only had Charles Bradley for a few short years.
I love her so.
2 albums, a handful of tours, a documentary. And yet in that time, he left something behind that will outlast all of us. When you hear that voice crack on the bridge of Changes, something happens inside you that you cannot explain and cannot forget. That is what soul music was invented to do.